go over the scientific method. Here in your notebook, your paper notebook, if you have that orange strip of paper, you're going to glue it to the side. You might have to trim it a little bit. Then just extend the lines out using a ruler or just using the lines on the paper. Now, if you do not have the orange strip and you're working at home, then just write out the number and the step name, and then beside it or below it, you can write the information on each slide. So the first stage of the scientific method is identify the problem. Now you need to write what's in black. The red is extra. You can always add it, but what's in black is what you need to know. Identify the problem means you're going to use a process of observation to figure out what a problem or question is that needs to be solved. You need to figure out what's wrong, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be made better, and that is identify the problem. Now, keywords: what, how, why. You might say, I wonder, or I wonder why, or how, but those are the keywords when identifying the problem or question. Second step is gather information. This is where you're going to research or you're going to make observations, but research possible solutions to your question or your problem by learning more about the problem. Ways to gather information would be reading about it, going online, finding articles, finding books that is written on the topic. You might observe what's going on. You can ask an expert, somebody that knows something about the topic, to find out more information in order to solve the problem. Sometimes you might even use prior knowledge, what you already know about the topic or the problem, to be able to fix it or get an answer. Form a hypothesis. This is the third step. You're going to develop a possible explanation to the problem. Sometimes they say a hypothesis is like an educated guess. It's more than that. It's very educated. It's probably the possible solution or answer to the question. Usually, but not always, a hypothesis is a statement that's written in if and then. So, for example, if you increase the temperature of water, then the sugar cube will dissolve faster in it. So you would be testing to see if the temperature of the water had any effect on how fast the sugar cube would dissolve. That's what you're testing. That's your hypothesis. Fourth step, plan and conduct an experiment. Sometimes this is split up into two. Plan the experiment, then conduct the experiment. I like to add it all into one. So you would design an experiment that would either prove or disprove the hypothesis. You would probably have several steps. You would have some things that we're going to talk about later this week when we talk about parts of an experiment would have to be in your experiment. And you would run several tests just to make sure that what happens because of what you're doing or what you're changing. These tests need to be measurable. In other words, you need to be able to collect data, either find the growth of something or count how many if something develops, time something that's measurable. And it needs to be reproducible. You need to be able to do the experiment several times the same way. The fifth step is to record and analyze your data. Now, of course, while you're doing the experiment, you would be recording. At the end is when you would analyze the data. So you would write down and study your results, like all your measurements that you have taken from the test of the experiment. Usually you write down all the information in either data tables and then create graphs from that information. We're going to learn a little bit more about graphs later next week. And when you get your information, you look for patterns to see, well, did it increase? Did it decrease? Did it go up and down? Is there a pattern? Did it go up 2 times every time I did this, or this? So you're looking for patterns. Once you have gathered all your information and you've analyzed it, then you come to a conclusion. You have to decide, well, is your hypothesis correct? Or if you have disproven it, you might need to go back, change your hypothesis, or change your experiment, or both, and redo. So you would retest and repeat no matter the results. If they're positive or you've proven the hypothesis, you have to retest just to make sure. And then most scientists would then communicate the results, write an article in the science journal, and things like that, because other scientists would need to know about their results. So again, we have 6 steps. I'm going to run through them one more time. You have identify the problem, gather information, form a hypothesis, plan and conduct an experiment, record and analyze data, come to a conclusion. Now, these steps are not set in stone. Sometimes you can skip around. Most scientists do. They'll go back and then go forward 2 steps and go back again, maybe go back to research, maybe go back to observing. So they're not set in stone, but there is a logical order that scientists do, and they kind of follow these 6 steps. So there you go. Make sure this is your notes. Make sure you go back and review. We're going to talk a little bit more about the scientific method and parts of an experiment later.